All this is in preparation for carving an eagle that goes in a Methodist church in Blountville, Tennessee. Now it'll be about 8 feet by 6 feet or something like that. It's pretty large. I'll show you and you can get a kind of a feel for it there in a minute. But first things first, you have to get the raw brick from a brickyard. Now this came from Marion, Virginia. And I think they just donated the brick. A lot of times they'll do that if it's for a public building, a church or something like that, because they get the advertisement. They're saying brick were donated by this company. They sent this, and the fellow that I work with is a teacher, and he's a real nice guy. We've done several, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 brick projects, and he teaches masonry in high school. So when we get through and we get it all fired and ready to go, I'll work right with him. I'll hand him each brick, and he will lay this brick. Now I have to carve the mortar joints in between each brick, and he has to sit and wait on me. I usually do that with my pocket knife. I told somebody, they said, "How do you do that, carving those bricks?" I said, "Well, mainly I take my pocket knife to it." They said, "What?" And their eyes get big. They think of a brick as being hard, something hard. Well, it's not. I'll show you, and I'll show you that I do carve with my pocket knife. I couldn't do anything without it. So you'll watch, I'll carve something, and you can watch me using that pocket knife. And I use various and sundry tools. I consider anything in this room, outside, in the back of the car, under the hood of the car, anything like that, any object that I find that I think will do the job that I'm wanting to do, I consider it a tool. I just reach up and see what this is. Oh, by the way, this fits right along with it. This you take to the mortar joint after you're finished. So it does like this. It made that it's kind of indented, and it looks good. Now on ours, we won't indent them. I want the things flush, because it's going to be the same color as the brick, and we don't want to interrupt it with. You can still see the joints, but there is what is done with these to finish a mortar joint. I just happened to, I didn't have that set up. I just happened to reach up there and get that. See, I could have gotten that job, and that's to put stuff in joints. It's just flat. But I don't know why. I haven't even seen those tools in a long time. But there's a air gauge to air up your tires. Now, if I pull that gauge out and I see something that gauge will do and nothing else, if I want to make little circles in there, in that clay, and I want endless circles that size, I'd grab that tire gauge and do that. So you're free to get you, just grab up something. That's the thing. A screwdriver are always good, and pliers and chisels and stuff like that. But let me show you. There's times you've got to keep this brick wet. So I periodically, that is every day, I'll shoot some water back in there because I try to maintain what I've got. I don't want it getting drier until after I carve it. It tends to want to get dry as you're carving there on it. You can't keep it covered and carve at the same time. You can't see it. But I've got these, and I'll that's pretty good. There's my thumbprint on it, thumbnail on it. But anyway, there it is. These things weigh, gosh, I don't know. Let Jim, what do you think that thing weighs? You probably better than I am, but that's heavy.
Probably a good 20 pounds.
Yeah, I think it is about 20 pounds. But it'll get much lighter. Most of that's water. But as they're snugged together here, as long as I don't separate them and let the air go around in there, I can keep those for months, maybe years, if I want to. If I'll just keep spraying and keep this plastic, get wrapped up in this plastic. There's people panic when they see mold growing on clay. To a potter, having mold grow on your clay is exactly what you want to happen. So, in school, I saw this guy dumping some beer into, he had a big can, and he had his clay down in there. And I said, what in the world you doing? I believe he's pouring a quart bottle of beer down in this thing. It's kind of like a tub. He said, I'm growing mold down in there. And that stuff will grow, and its mold will send these little, it's little roots like, I don't know how to describe mold, but except sometimes in China, you can hold China up and light will come through it, and you can see that stuff. They put it back in caves, and they encourage the mold to kind of take over. Kind of like cheese. They do the same thing with cheese. They age it. The pottery being thrown on a potter's wheel, that's what it's called. You throw a pot on a potter's wheel. The ones being done today were probably, the clay was stacked back in a cave maybe 800 years ago. As soon as they end up, it's kind of like a winery. You keep the old wine and then you can sell it off. You're putting new wine back, and over the years it'll age. That's the reason they have to keep that stuff for long periods of time. Okay, look how good that gets back in there. I don't believe I can do that with anything else. I believe this is just the best thing that I've run across for wetting brick. Now, I don't have to do it much. It's going to stay in there on wet moisture because it's not going to leak out much. I keep that thing fairly tight. That ought to be about enough. Now I'll do that in another day or so. Now I've taken a lot of brick out of here. This is about half the brick I had. I had it out in here. I've got my lawnmower back there, and I was worried about getting the lawnmower out. But my grandson assured me that he is man enough to lift it out of there. So I quit worrying about it. Yeah, I just reach and grab something, anything that'll hold down plastic. That's all tucked in. I used to tuck my youngers in bed.